So, okay, with that, we had our spirit teaching a couple of weeks ago. Roberta wasn't here, but the rest of you were. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
I can't remember what it was about.
Oh, some of it was funny. She was funny.
That would have been your grandmother, would it? When it kept saying dairy.
Sandy, I don't know if that was, I don't think my grandma used the word dairy.
She was on the thin side, short hair, had it, kind of up like this. Gosh, it puts me in mind of, you remember the Honeymooners? And Gleason's wife with the hair up like that? Alice, yes, that's right. Her hair was up like that, not quite as thin, but she had this sophisticated, gossipy air about her.
I would say that would not be my grandmother.
Okay. I was just curious.
But no,
about that.
but I'm not sure who that would be.
Yeah, that was the
Okay.
female that came in.
Okay.
That was the female that came in. I saw her, because the other gentleman, he's kind of like me, about my size, my weight, thereabouts. Nothing really special, His clothing is not, it looks warm,
Okay.
but not raggedy.
Okay.
That's how he appears. And the last one, the ones like him, always come in wearing robes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sometimes they have hair, sometimes they don't. Sometimes everything is thinned out, they just make themselves up. They're old enough and experienced enough to where they can adjust their appearance to appease to you.
Okay.
So, but,
All I can say was it took away a lot of worries. I'm not gonna worry about the political scene. They took that away.
good. Good. One thing during my research, and I think I posted it as well, one thing I noticed about history is an excellent demonstration of rhythm. It's like waves. That's why history repeats itself. It's always,
Mhm.
and if you look at history, we tend to focus on the bad stuff. We tend to focus on that. But if you look at history, all right, all these global calamities, so to speak, are always caused by the same thing. All of them. The same thing. It's usually one person or a group of people with one very loud bully that just gets things moving in a direction. And it's like a cleansing. It's like a cleansing, because every time, if you look at history, every time we go through something like that, all right, everything is just so much better. And why is it so much better? It's because that crap has been flushed down the toilet. And now we're all set and ready for new crap.
Mm.
Which is like the Who song, like the old crap. But it's new crap. How was that? Meet the new boss, like the old boss. So, any other observations any of you may have had? And I don't know if you had a chance to look it over, Roberta, but if you have any comments or questions, you can chime in too. Well, with that said, let me see here. All right.
Did have one little thing that ever.
Sure.
And this was the speaker, this was the first one, it's the older one, you probably won't hear the second. There's a section right here, it's on page 12.
Oh, yeah, that's where I was going.
Okay. Probably all, it's about the suffering thing.
Yes, exactly.
Sandy and I talked about this, because we did not like the way he put that. And I'm not saying that,
Be specific.
okay. Sandy, one example was Connie. Because when he talked about people enjoying it and wallowing in it,
Mhm.
Sandy said to me later, and I think she actually got off. She was worried that may have offended her. I don't know if that's true or not, but she was worried about her. And because this is a woman who has been through so much. And one could say, a lot of suffering in her life, and she does not complain, she doesn't, she comes on and she takes the good, what we have to give, what you have to give. She does not complain. And it just was a little disturbing. And now having been through what we've been through, I don't see anybody wallowing in it. And pain, navigating it, maybe it's just navigating it and dealing with it is a very personal thing. And I don't think people enjoy it, as he implied, and I'll be honest, my thought was that somebody who hasn't been in the physical for a long time perhaps forgets or has a lack of memory of what being in the physical is like and the challenges that one is faced with. So to imply that that you can just snap your fingers and it's all gone and it's no big deal is really wrong. I just took kind of personal.
Think of it like this. Instead of using the word suffering, because that just gives you all kinds of images, think of it as drama.
Okay. Yeah, well.
And there are a lot of people that enjoy
Yes,
drama.
you're absolutely right.
I mean, they complain, they do all this stuff, and they do everything but step out of it because they enjoy it.
And
Look,
yes.
I mean, I can only use myself as an example because I know myself so well. Most of the time. I don't tell myself everything. But, early in life, and Connie's not here to confirm any of that because I've known her for quite a number of years. But in my life, my early years, I had all kinds of problems. Suffering. You could say I was suffering. I mean, nobody prepared me for anything. My dad was killed when I was 13, 14 years old. I never dealt with that, never knew anything about it. I was just told I had to be the man of the house. So I'm trying to figure out how to be the man of the house. What does that imply? I'm trying to figure out all of this stuff. Okay. Because all of a sudden it felt like all this responsibility was dumped on me. I was not prepared for it. There was no one there to help me with any of that. My mom was out doing what adults did at that time. She had her boyfriends. Some of them she brought home. Some of them she let discipline myself and my brothers. You know, I have a lot of words about that. I could very easily, and unless you've been in a similar situation, you know, that can very easily be suffering. It can very easily be suffering, especially on the part of a child. And I hope you don't mind, Cindy, but Cindy and I dated for a little while, decade or so ago. So I know her two children, Adam and Ashley, right? And Adam had a lot of problems with me when I came over there. I mean, he shut himself, barricaded himself in his room. I knew exactly what he was going through, which is one of the reasons why I stopped dating Cindy. I don't know what the rest of them were, but that one stands out. Yeah, because when I was in his position, it did not seem right. And I was causing him pain because I went through pain. Suffering is not always losing limbs. And we create a lot of our own suffering because we don't understand. That's the biggest thing. We don't understand what suffering is. And all we know is that we're there. All we know is that this person over here has got a much better life than I do. And I want that life, but I can't get there because I'm here and I got all this other crap. And, you know, until we understand, my life didn't get better until I realized that if I want to be like that, I have to prepare myself to get there. Because we're caught up in this whole idea that there are shortcuts. You've got these millionaires who are intelligent, were intelligent when they were children. Bill Gates and I think Steve Jobs were together at one time, kids, and they ended up building multi-million-dollar corporations with no college education. But what we don't realize is that those people like that are exceptions. They're exceptions. They had talents. And they had the support with those talents. You ever try and accomplish something with no support? It's hard. It's hard. So support is important. The average person, which is what all of us are, we're average. I hate to say it. I hate to admit it to myself, but it's usually the safer bet. You know, we don't all have the same talents. We don't all have the same capabilities. In our Constitution, where it's written that all men are created equal, they don't mean that we are equal. They just mean that we have equal opportunities to improve ourselves. And we do. We all have opportunities to improve ourselves. But it's up to us to decide to do that. However, if we are caught up in an expectation that we can just what is it, chutes and ladders? To where you can just climb a ladder and you go from this level to this level without having to mess with that level. Well, you know, life has never worked that way. And we should not teach our children that life works that way. And society should not encourage people that that's how life works. Because it doesn't. I went through the first half of my life thinking that's the way it works. All I need is the right opportunity. All I need is to hit the jackpot lottery or whatever, and everything will be better. Boy, was I stupid. And I was miserable. I was suffering all that time, looking for the easy out, and there is no easy out. That's what he meant by all we have to do is change something. But before you can change something, you have to understand it. That's what that fourth noble truth is. When you understand the noble truth of number 3, which is everything is mind, when you understand it, the noble truth number 4 is the pathway out. We don't suffer because we don't have enough food. We don't suffer because we don't have enough clothing or enough money. We suffer because we don't know what to do. It's so overwhelming for us. We don't know what to do. And we don't prepare our children because, well, nobody prepared me. Why should I have to prepare them? Let them figure it out on their own, just like I did. That was dumb of me, by the way. That was very dumb of me to have that assumption there. But when I made this realization, then I said about teaching my children, you know, I don't want to be like this. I don't want them to be like that. So what do I need to do to fix this for me? And then I teach them to do the same thing. Can I teach them everything? No, because their situations are going to be different. But the methodology will always be the same. That's what he was talking about. When you can simply change it. You don't have to suffer. We don't suffer physically, we suffer emotionally and mentally. And the biggest reasons why we suffer is because there is no one there to support us. We've done something to chase everybody away. Oh, they're toxic. Get away from me. Get away from me. Instead of asking, why is this person toxic to me? Could I be toxic to them? See, it's huge. When you start investigating, it's huge. You have poor people who have very little to their name living the good life. And by the good life, they're satisfied. They're happy. They don't need all this extra stuff. They don't need these tablets and computers and cell phones and stuff to be happy. They don't need all of that. And they have less than I do. And I don't have, well, I got a little bit. But, you know, that's the whole thing. Once I learned that, even when I had nothing, I wasn't suffering. And Connie doesn't suffer. I know Connie well enough to know that her whole attitude towards life is, you know, and that's it.
It's amazing.
It is.
Mhm.
It is. I struggled to get to that point. It's like the last 2 weeks. The drain plugged up, busted the toilet, battery died in the car, and now my front end is messed up. You know, that's like $2,000 that I got to shell out in 4 weeks. You know, I could lament about that. That's what suffering is, lamenting about it. I could lament about that, but it doesn't solve any of it. The only thing that solves it is by doing something about it. And that's what he's saying. If you don't like what you're experiencing, do something about it. You have that power.
That's like, we think if you didn't behave this way, then I wouldn't feel. We have that mindset. And it's real hard to get out of.
We react.
And that's a thing of suffering. I was always was also wondering if that definition of suffering is different for us than it was for a sage who lived hundreds of years ago. Well, they said, suffer the little children to come unto me, Jesus said. And it's like, what? What should suffer?
Suffer the little children,
Mhm.
come unto me.
Mhm.
Don't feel bad because the kids are up here and you're not.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But
I
that's-
digress. But, it's getting that new perspective, that different way of thinking. So it's like, once you go,
It's not easy to get there.
and no,
It's not easy to get there. You are constantly reminding yourself. Constantly. I know. You know? Oh, shut up, Philip.
if I want to feel differently, I'm the one that has to find a new perspective,
Yes.
take a different
Mhm. Mhm.
look at things. There's, again, I'm gonna digress, I'm sorry. Scrabble, anybody a Scrabble player? I love Scrabble.
Mhm.
So you have all these tiles, all these letters that don't mean anything in front of you. And someone who was a better Scrabble player than me told me once, look at them sideways. Look at your letters sideways. So I would skew my eyes and all of a sudden I could see words. I went, and it was amazing. Look at them sideways.
Interesting.
That was, try it sometime.
I,
I don't have anybody to play Scrabble with.
Changes your perspective. Maybe we'll have to have a Scrabble night, huh?
Sandy, we played Scrabble sometimes at home.
But yeah, change your perspective. I'm an artist and one of the things I do is I look at my artwork from the edge
Mhm.
to make sure the right things are popping.
Mhm.
If you want to copy somebody's signature, turn it upside down. And copy the lines that way, and it'll turn out looking much more like their signature. Than if you just did it, looking at it right side up.
Interesting.
It's just that change of perspective, there's,
Exactly. Exactly. So, any thoughts, Roberta?
Trying to figure out how to do this, but yes, I expound on the changing of perception. When we do that, however, we have to make sure that we not only get out of here, but we also work with the energy that we have in here. Because this can sometimes askew things when you do a repetition. That's the only thing I take from it. If I've got this or things are happening, go from here. That's just me.
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind, what's causing suffering is your emotions and your thinking.
Exactly. And it's
That's-
happening for us, not to us. What is this supposed to teach me is what I've been working with. What lesson am I supposed to be learning now? That's all I got. I sure am appreciating the message though.
So, yeah, I ran off at the mouth a little too much. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
So, what are your thoughts, Cindy?
I think that you need to be not in the world, you need to be of the world.
Exactly, it's Gnostic teaching. It's Gnostic teaching. In the world means you're in all that muck and everything. Of the world means you have an understanding. So, did I touch with you?
Oh, I touched, like,
Yeah.
I volunteered. so-
Oh, you volunteered. Okay, so I'll come back to you last. So, all right. What are your thoughts, Sandy?
Well, it gave a little better perspective on the suffering, but I do think that by nature of what was just said about that Roberta said about it, the suffering being in your head and in your emotions, by nature of that, it can be extremely difficult to climb out of it, to go to the next place, and you're not even aware there is a next place. And especially children, like you were talking about, my granddaughter's situation is very similar to what you experienced at 14, about someone disciplining her and being in her life and no choice of that. And so that struck a chord with me about that. That's certainly one of her problems, one of her issues. So I would say that I would hope that, I mean, in her situation, we now know there's this horrible depression, but in other people who you really don't know that, I would ask or try to find out somehow, how do you help lift them out? Because they can't always do it. I mean, and I'm not saying you do anything for them, but you maybe to guide one in just in the direction, or the just to know you can move away from this, because when you're in it, I don't think you even have any inkling that you can move away from it. So that's all I'm saying, is that sometimes you need some help. You need some guidance in that, because depression in and of itself is so incredibly isolating. You do not feel like you have anybody or anything or anyone who understands anything about how you feel. So it's hard to from living in that spot to try to change anything. And so it's, like just trying to help someone realize that you can change, because it's a very lost feeling. So that's all. That's all.
There are so many, um, speakers now who have come out to share, who are survivors of suicide, and they're probably the best teachers for violence, rather than a therapist, unless your therapist has been through it. And a therapist is only going to be working with these kids 45 minutes or 40 minutes in a hospital setting once a week. And it's really the other caretakers who are around more often, who really don't have the education or the training, but are just there because they either have lived it or a family member have lived it, that are really the kind of the key people. But there's probably, what do you call them? TED Talks,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
or
you gotta be careful with TED
YouTubes,
Talks.
and
And
you name
YouTube,
it.
especially with this type of thing.
Exactly.
The most important thing to keep in mind, okay, all of you come here once a week. And you feel good about it. And we only chat on the outset 45 minutes. It makes a huge difference. The most important thing you can do with your children or with children, grandchildren, whatever, is to be available. That is the most important thing. And when you notice something that's not right, you question them about it. Don't grill them about it. Don't make demands on it, but ask them about it. Let them know that you are there. And if you have similar experiences and you pick up on it, share those experiences. I share my experiences with you on what I went through to get where I'm at. And can you do the same thing? Not exactly what I did. I didn't have support with all of this. Of course, well, I shouldn't say that. My support came when I was questioning others, talking to others. That was my support. You don't need people dedicated there. You don't need a care team. What you just need to do is to be able to talk to someone. Even if you just start off with a simple little question. Hey, how you doing? That's what happens when I call up people I haven't talked to in a while. Hey, how are you doing? And sometimes that's all it takes, and it just floods out. It just floods out. Most important thing you can do is to make sure that those children and people, make sure they know that you are available for them. And as far as all this crap hitting, violence at the right age. All that stuff hit me at that age. At that age. I mean, my dad died when I was 14. And I didn't know any better. I would have done really well if I'd gone to a therapist. But what's the attitude? The prevailing attitude? We're talking 30, 40 years ago. The prevailing attitude was, if you have to see a shrink, you've got serious problems. And we've still got that stigma with that. It's not gone entirely. I mean, the whole purpose of getting rid of mental institutions is because those people that were in those mental institutions were abused. The whole purpose of dismantling those institutions and putting them in different homes and with family and everything was so they could heal, so they could feel like they're part of something. And now they want to go right back to the institutions. Here we go with this natural principle of rhythm, back and forth. So, just let people know that you're there. If you see something wrong, just say something. Doesn't hurt to say something. The problem is if you press them about it, because then they're going to clam up. But if you just say, so what's happening? All right, well, I did this, and so what are your plans for next week? How was your visit with your friend a while ago? Engage them. That's the thing. Engage them. Our society now is too caught up in separation in these subtle ways. Ooh, they're toxic. Get away. How do I love my ex? By making sure the door is closed. I mean, and another one is, if you cross me, I will cross you off, and I will not talk to you ever again. Who wants to associate with people like that? I mean, if you go on Facebook, these are the posts that you see. And these are spiritual people posting this stuff.
Oh, wow.
This is spiritual people posting this stuff. Separation. They are encouraging and enforcing separation in very subtle ways. See, that's the thing. Everything happens very subtly. Our suffering comes upon us very subtly. We work our way out of it very subtly. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. There's no ladder up and there's no chute down. The thing is, once you get out of it, once you find out how to get out of where you're at, and you slide back into it a couple of times, you begin to recognize the signs. See, that's where it all comes from. You have to move back and forth. You have to find your way out, and it's going to grab a hold of you, pull you back into it, then you work your way out, and it pulls you back in, and you work your way out, and it reaches out for, wait a second. That's the process. That's the process. You're going to go in and out. That's why it's called the natural principle of rhythm. You move back and forth. Look at all this stuff I went through. The drain, the toilet, the deer, the battery. I could just be, but it's all happened before. So I recognize the signs and I know better. So, all right. Did you want to add something, Rachel?
I got my mic to work. Yeah. I think what you're talking about, the natural rhythm of moving in and out, I can resonate with that because, yeah, I found myself like yesterday getting irritated, and I'm like, I know this feeling, but I'm glad I don't feel it like I used to, and I know how to kind of work with it better, I guess, you know. And another thing I thought of about you changing perspective is I was doing a painting the other day, and to see like my mistakes, I'll turn it in the mirror. And then when I look in the mirror at the painting, I can see kind of where I've done the mistakes and how to correct it a little bit. And that's how I do my paintings, I guess.
That's the important thing. Recognizing. That's why experience is so important. It's so important. Your experience is what moves you from one level to the next. Because with experience, you never go down. You never go down. You just go up. You may stay a while there, but all you can do is go up. So good for you. Good job. So, any last thoughts, Beth? All right, I think that covers everybody. So I want to thank all of you for your participation, your words, your thoughts. That's what makes this so much better. And well, let me see. This is a good time.